Maybe you're wondering, will they even care what I have to say? Why put in the effort if the people are just going to walk away and not remember it anyways? Maybe you have this feeling of you just want to play. And maybe even deeper down than that, you have a fear of just showing up in general. The good news is it doesn't have to be this way.
Love doing this every Wednesday. So thank you guys for being here with us every single Wednesday. Excited. We got a few more people coming into the room. This is that awkward moment when you don't exactly know what to say. So you just monologue, but I have music backing me up. And I've got our speaker today, Alex, who's giving me a beautiful smile in the background to keep me going. So this is great. Welcome to our next edition every single Wednesday of what we're calling office hours. It's our opportunity to bring the Fast Foundations community together, learn something as a group, connect, support each other, and just take a little bit of time out of our busy schedule to be present and to get back to what we love to do, which is being entrepreneurs, continuing to grow and connecting with other like-minded entrepreneurs. And today, Alex Street is going to be teaching us how to clearly deliver any message. How does that sound? I know it sounds good to me. Alex Street believes that when you share your story, you shape the world. And as an actor, youth pastor, public speaker for more than 20 years, he knows firsthand how powerful storytelling is when it comes to personal development, business strategy, and creating authentic connection with your audience. Alex has coached TEDx speakers, best-selling authors, seven-figure business owners to clearly communicate the why rooted in their signature story. He has a master's in theological studies. He's a husband of 16 years and a dad to 3 Gen Z kids in Toronto, Ontario. Alex is also a dear friend. He is a Fast Foundations alumni, and he's a coach in our next round. And we're really grateful to have him part of this community and for just how much he pours into the members here and all of us collectively. Alex, take it away. The Zoom stage is yours.
Oh, it's so good. This is great. I love how this feels. I know it's like a chill kind of environment here. And it's, hey, let's just gather around the table. And also, I can't help but stand up when I speak. It's a thing that we do. It's got to be the way. Some of you, I can see Jim standing as well. Anyways, I also realized that bio needs to be updated because I'm celebrating my 18th anniversary on Monday to my wonderful wife, Karen. And I got to get you an updated version of that. But here we are. Anyways, this is so good. And I am glad to be here today. I want to teach you something that has been, I only realized last year that this has probably been the most significant tool that I've used over the last 2 years now of being a speaker, being in front of audiences, sharing message. And so I want to share this with you. I use it not only for speaking, but also for designing stuff, for helping people create any kind of content. This is going to set you free today, my friends. Absolutely create a live chat box, get in there, say hi, talk to each other, keep it active. Here's how I want to teach you today how to storyboard everything and why this matters specifically for me. I carry a massive bias here because I am a storytelling coach, helping leaders, founders, brands to clarify your story so that you can show up and speak with confidence on any stage, on any platform, and clearly communicate what you're about. Because I believe that lasting change always starts with a clear story. So if you want to make lasting impact, then that's why we're here today. And we're going to figure out how to do that. But there's also something else that I've realized that I believe, and this goes way back to like me and my mama. And this is that a clear message creates captivating moments. So if you have some platform in which you are sharing a message at any point, podcast, Instagram, stories, you're sharing a post on LinkedIn, you are sending out emails, you actually get in front of a room and speak to live human beings at any moment, or you're on a digital rectangle like this and sharing some sort of message, I know you want to captivate your audience. And the best way to do that is with a clear message. And if we go back, the best way to do that is with a clear story. But I'm not exactly going to teach about storytelling so much today, more about how to craft that clear message. The big question that I want you to type in the chat box is, do you consider yourself a player? Not don't hate the play, I hate the game, but like are you someone who likes to play or someone who likes to plan? Player or planner? Just type in the chat, which one do you feel like you are? Would you rather just play Or would you rather plan? And you can't have both yet. You just got to be one or the other. You have to lean one way. I love this. Okay. So what have we got? Play, play, plan, plan. Andrea, I know that you're about to play. This is so good. That's her entire brand. I love it. So good. We got a lot of planners and some people who are players. And look, I am a self proclaimed player who learned to plan. And what I want you to do today is to recognize that by planning, we can play. And just because there's a plan doesn't mean that there isn't space to play. And within all of that, I'm going to teach you a structure that you can play with all of those. But here's me. This is very important to the entire talk and to you going forward and delivering a clear message is seeing completely unconfident teenager Alex pretending he was confident. Can you see that picture on the right there with the bleach blonde hair where I thought that I was a surfer near Toronto, Ontario? And I was actually putting my hand behind my bicep there to make it look a little bigger. You see that? That's a little trick for if you ever have teenage boys. You can teach them how to do that and impress all the ladies. And in this stage of life, I knew one thing. I knew that I needed to be on stage. I knew that I was going to follow in my mom's footsteps. I was going to be an actor. I was going to take the world by storm and win an Oscar by the time I was 21. It was the path for me. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I also was maybe a little bit arrogant. Let's not call it confident. Let's call it arrogant that I knew that I could step up and I didn't actually need to practice. All these other people are rehearsing, but I don't need to rehearse. I don't need to practice. So I can memorize things really quickly and then I'll go out and wing it. And there was always this effort of winging it. Whenever it was, whether it was playing sports or it was acting, whatever it was, I loved this. I just carried this spirit of winging it. Let's call it playing wherever I went. And so when I got into acting and I was actually on stage, then okay, it could get messy sometimes because I'm okay to wing it, but it doesn't mean that everybody else is. So if I miss a cue, I'm okay to adapt. But the other people needed a bit more structure. So all you planners, you're like, yes, please don't go up there and wing it. You're screwing the rest of us over. And I think that's an important point. And so then when I started to speak, I actually was given the microphone at 17 years old and given my first opportunity to speak in front of a crowd. I carried that same mentality that I can just wing it. I can get on stage. I could write down my notes, sure, but I can just show up and say whatever I want to say and it'll be just fine. Then I got on stage with my mom. Here she is, my beautiful mama. She's been gone over a decade now. But I had this incredible opportunity when I was 19 to act on stage with her. And during rehearsals, I showed up one day to rehearsal and she was like, "Did you practice at home?" I was like, "No, we practice here." What do you, that's what rehearsals are for. Mother, who's been acting for 30 years. I thought you would know this. I didn't dare speak to her like that. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh no, you prepare at home and you bring your best to the rehearsal so that you can be even better on stage." I was like, "What?" She said, "Do you want to know?" I remember this. She said, "Do you want to know why we can do this? Why we've been doing this for 30 years, me and my husband?" I said, "Okay." She said, "It's because of the power that we have on stage." Like she's never talked to me like this. And she sat me down in this rehearsal room and said, "My darling, we are powerful now because we prepared then." That stuck with me. I did not take it lightly. I then learned my lines at home and brought those to the rehearsal room to work through the actions so that on stage, I knew exactly where we were going. And then because I knew the structure so well, it felt like we were playing on stage. So creating a plan, having a plan and a structure didn't abandon the idea of play for me, but it actually enhanced it. Are you with me now? And so, what I want to do today is to address these ideas that we face when we're showing up or we are trying to create content in some way. And I'm like, look, here's a structure for you to create a clear message. But I know that if you're like me, there's a few of us out there that want to play. And for everybody else, there's still this idea of, I don't want to create a podcast or I don't know how to even get on stage and do what you're doing because we feel like there's no time to prepare. Maybe you have a lack of confidence in speaking. Maybe you're wondering, will they even care what I have to say? Why put in the effort if the people are just going to walk away and not remember it anyways? Maybe you have this feeling of you just want to play. And maybe even deeper down than that, you have a fear of just showing up in general. The good news is It doesn't have to be this way. If you are here, then you want to have a captivating impact on people, then it's more simple than you ever thought. And it is by using this storyboard outline. This is going to be something that you carry with you, you can carry with you and use in any setting. And it goes like this. You create these 4 boxes. I use this sometimes by just creating a grid. I just draw a grid on a sticky note and then draw these arrows next to it and then set it up. And you create the boxes like this. First box is a picture. Start with a story. Why? Because lasting impact always starts with a clear story. Then you talk about the problems. Here's the problems that you might be facing that we're going to address today. Make it so much that it feels like you're reading their diary. You talk about their problems, the problems that you know exist because you've had them, you've experienced them. And then the good news is we've got a way out of those problems. I've got a process today that I can walk you through that will help you go from problem to possibility in your life. And when you do this, when you follow this process that I just taught you, then you will get to experience all the goodness in life. That's a very quick rundown of creating a very simple storyboard that you can use for any outline ever. And we'll walk through it in a minute. But if you do this, then all of a sudden you realize that you have more time to lead. You can make an impact with all of your work. You do recognize that there is more confidence than ever. Your fears are smaller. And as I said, planning feels like playing because a little structure allows for the spirit to move. Now, we're actually going to go in depth on what each of these are. But before we get there, I'd love to hear a couple of clear thoughts or a couple of clarifying questions or something that stood out to you. And before we even do that, I just want to make sure that you notice that what I did in that 12 minutes or so was walk through that exact storyboard. So I started with a story about me and my mom and a transformation of going from planning to playing and brought you through that and then delivered here's the problem of why some of us shy away from creating a structure around our talks, or we don't know where to start, or here's what you might be facing. And then just right then, I showed you the process very quickly and very basically took you through how you can move from this fear into something else, and then just ended right now with some idea of what's possible. In 12 minutes, took you through a message that in itself told a story from problem to possibility, and also taught you a very basic outline of how to create a message. Are you with me? It works. It's possible. It brings you in. Any quick, clean thoughts right off the bat, and then we can walk through details if we've got time now to do that. I can walk through some quicker or some more specific details on that. Does that work, Jim?
Absolutely does. If anybody has anything, just hop off mute.
Clarifying questions or something that made you jump out or something that made you feel
I was just going to
Letty,
say,
I see you. Go ahead.
this is really simple. It's not complicated. Like when you said you can do this on a sticky note, that just stuck with me. And you also said you can do this in any scenario. It's not just about, I'm preparing for a talk, so I need to do this process. Like you can use this probably in so many different areas of your life. So yeah, so I'm grateful for you teaching it. It's really good. Thanks.
Yeah, so good, Letty. I love that. Yeah, literally this morning I was helping someone walk through their landing page. I was like, why don't you try this? At the beginning, start with a really simple story, then paint out their problems, then tell us what the program is that you're doing and how it's going to help them, and then give us an idea of what's going to happen after the program. Then you can fill in the details of there's 6 one-to-one calls and here's about me and all that stuff. But start there and you've got a landing page. Yeah, I love it. So good that you captured that. Anything else that jumped out or clarifying questions?
I think we're good to move on.
I'm always good to move on. All right, so let's dig into some of the specifics on these and how to actually find this stuff. So when you are looking for the picture, of course, there's any story that you can tell, and this is where so many of my friends get caught up is, but what story do I tell and how do I find it? You can find this everywhere. This is based in the story arc, which is my baby, and this is following a simple 3-act structure of telling a story. Who I was, I told you I was a speaker and I just wanted to wing it. What happened? I told you that I had this conversation with my mom where she really set me straight, and who I am. Now I told you how I use this all the time, and I use this structure to set me up to get into any stage at any moment, and my transformation from planning or from playing to planning. and realizing that within planning, I can also play. So you can do the same for any story that you want to tell. Break it down to a very simple 3-act structure with one point on each, and you can introduce your topic in that way. And then when you make your transformation clear, now we just get to fill out what that actually looks like. The problem, here's the question that you can ask to actually identify these problems. You can think about your audience and say, what feelings and what moments are they experiencing? And where I don't like this work is when we think a lot of ideal client avatar and we're guessing at it. So if you find yourself guessing, then I would say go back to your story and say, what problems and moments have I experienced? And you can fill that out so much clearer with absolute truth and authenticity and say, here's maybe where you're at. And here's what's getting in your way. And you can stay vague with that. I stayed pretty vague with my effort right here. And the more specific that you get, where you're like, maybe you're trying to get the kids in the car in the morning and you spill your coffee and you feel like you've just got so much on your plate and nobody could ever help you. Somebody's going to identify with some moment of that. And so you can present something like that, or you can stay vague, stay high level, and present these more general problems that they're facing, but make sure that we understand what that feels like. And then the process, you get to look at your process. So what? So they're facing these problems. The question is, how can I help them transform? So you look at what you do, but ask yourself, how can I help them? They feel this. How could I help them? What have I learned? What can I teach? Many of you, I'm sure, have some sort of specific process that you already teach. You've already led group programs. You already have a video course. You've already brought people through this. You already have podcasts. Just put it into 3, 4, 5 points that are specific to this topic, and then coach them through and say, okay, so if someone's feeling this, what's 3 steps that they could take to move out of that? The first thing, create your storyboard outline. Picture, problem, process, possible. There's 4 things. Now you move forward. So you get to go ahead and think, what are the 3 or 4 things that I would teach? Maybe it's one thing, honestly, but what's something that you could teach to help them transform? And finally, then possible, we get to leave with a happy feeling. Leave them with a happy ending. What feelings and moments will they get to experience? And essentially, the easy way to do this is the opposite of the problems. But I think a more authentic way is to say, this is how I actually feel right now. I feel clear. I feel confident. I feel like I can go up into any room with any message and I can use this. And so I know that you will as well. It is possible. So ask yourself, what feelings and moments will they get to experience? Again, when you get more specific, people actually lean in further. And what's possible for them? What's possible for us if people in general shift this way? Where could we really go with this? And leave us with a pie in the sky kind of version of it, and people will be drawn into what you're doing. So I loved using this on my podcast. Again, I would sit for a solo episode. I'm like, I'm in for 15 minutes. Here's my outline. I want to talk about memorizing content. Okay, now what's a story that I could tell about memorizing content? Do that. Okay, now what's the problem? Well, I know what a lot of people's problems are. Okay, now what would I teach them? Here's what I would teach, and then here's what's possible. Whereas before, I might have just gone on and be like, hey, everybody, this is an episode about memorizing your content, and here's 3 steps to memorize your content. Jump right to the process. But what I'm doing here is surrounding the process with a clear story, which is where lasting impact always begins. So now we got a bit more of an outline, a bit more specifics on this storyboard. I would love to hear situations you feel like you can use that, opportunities where you feel like that will set you free, or something that is still a barrier getting in the way for you. Whatever you got, let's open it up.
Love it, man. Thank you so much. Everybody, do me a favor. Just give a little virtual clap here for Alex. This is awesome, dude. I love learning from you every time you speak about this. It brings the story to life in such a new way. This is exactly like Alex just asked. We're just going to run right into it. Rapid fire takeaways plus feedback. How is this affecting you? How is this something that you can put into play? The format is simple. Please raise your virtual hand so we can call on you. Jump in, say, my name is, this is where I'm from, and then just a little bit of feedback. Find your virtual hand and jump in there. And while we do get a few of those, Alex, I'm just going to share mine. Jim Carter from Los Angeles. Grateful to have you here, buddy. And I'm really excited to see you in person when we get to our next event. And
Yes.
one thing that I absolutely love that you said was lasting impact always starts with a clear story. And that's given me a lot to think about for today. So I appreciate that quote, man. Okay, first up, Jess Bergio. Welcome, friend.
I always love hearing Alex. I've probably heard this a million times. Alex even did a course for my podcast, a mini course on storytelling for podcasting. Jess Bergio, San Diego, sorry. And I also have a podcast, and using this formula to help in our agency with other new podcasters who are coming up with a description of their show. Like many of us are multi-passionate, multifaceted. So it's hard for them to put it in a story, in a show description. And so this formula in itself has really helped a lot of our new podcasters like condense who they were, what they saw, like all the things that he just went over. So it's been really key in helping us get a lot of clarity for them when starting their podcasts. And then as they evolve, redoing this every couple of months or even quarter, if you will, to just reassess like who you're now speaking to and what problems you're now solving. So Alex, I love this and it's super simple and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thanks guys for doing these. They're amazing.
Thank you, Jess. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Lisa Owens, I see you next.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate what you've shared. And I'm Lisa Owens from Chicago, and I am a brand new podcaster. And just to echo what Jess said a moment ago, I think this will really help me sort of formulate, like I've only done my trailer and my first episode. So I'm just starting to work on the second one now, but I think this is a really great method for me to storyboard that. And I'm looking forward to bringing this into my next conversation with the person who's going to be my first guest. So thank you.
That's incredible. Yeah. There's a whole other level on how you actually work this into a conversation or an interview kind of podcast. That's fantastic, but absolutely. I love it. And if you want some support on that, shoot me a memo, voice memo, question, Instagram, whatever, if you need some clarity as you work through that. It's amazing.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Next up, Andrea Parker.
Hi, so I'm Andrea. I'm from Muskoka, Canada, and I'm grateful for being here. I get to work with Alex. I think I've been working with Alex since, I want to say February, and I feel like I can listen to this stuff literally every day. But my takeaway is the stuff that used to take me forever to figure out, especially like the copy, the stuff that's not fun for me is like actually so fun for me now. And it takes me like an hour. So the things, it just saves so much time. And when we host masterminds and we have a couple other things that we're doing, I do the story arc before every single call. I want them to, what's the feeling that I want them to take away? So I say this has been game changing for me. So I appreciate you, Alex.
And I appreciate you. It's so good to see you here. This is amazing. What did you tell me? You were like, what took me 10 hours? Like I just whipped it together in an hour or something, like a landing page. Or something.
Literally.
So you're incredible. If you don't know Andrea, then you've got to connect with Andrea. She's, again, what I say, talk about play. She teaches people how to play and it's one of a kind.
I love it. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thanks for being here. And you guys, we can give Alex one more big virtual round of applause. Thank you for being here, my man. I appreciate you so much. Alex, really quick, how can everybody connect with you that isn't already so they can learn more, learn about the story arc, follow along with you kick out the best content. And I want to make sure everybody can check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. On Instagram, it's @StreetSays, and that's my main place for hanging out. And then alexstreet.ca is my home, and that's the website and everything. So those are the main two ways. And there's going to be some really exciting stuff coming in the next couple months on how to expand this and really focus into something that grows as a brand. So stay tuned there. Find me, ask me any questions around storytelling you ever want to. Ask me more than you think you should. I am here for those conversations. So please engage.
You're a giver, man. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. This is why we do this. Just a quick recap for what's coming next as part of today. Everything that Alex just taught, it's going to be launched on our podcast next week. So you can re-listen to it. You can rewatch it on the YouTube channel. You can share it out with a friend. If you invited somebody and they couldn't make it, they feel that they can get value from this. We also just want you to invite your friends. We love doing this every single week, totally free. It's our give back to this community. It can be at fastfoundations.com/office hours. And you can join our community at fastfoundations.com. That's where we open up our in-person events, and we're really excited. Last week, we announced we have our next in-person event in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. It's coming up the first week of October. You can check that out at fastfoundations.com/next event. Alex will be there. We're going to be workshopping. We're going to have a lot of fun then.
Hey, this is Jim Carter. Thank you for joining the Fast Foundations podcast. We're excited to try this new format. We're grateful you were here to be part of it with us. If you missed the live event, you can join us every Wednesday. Sign up at fastfoundations.com/office hours, and we'll see you next week.